Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to do another video on the Harbor Freight Central Machinery Woodworking 14-inch bandsaw. What I'm going to do is install a link belt that I bought instead of the regular belt that comes with it, and do just the basic adjustments on the saw to make sure it works. So let's take a look. Before I install the belt, I'm going to go ahead and make all the adjustments that I can to the bandsaw. So looking at the saw here, some of the adjustments that I can make. This knob here loosens this bar, which makes it go up and down here, and you can, when you're working on something, you bring this down against the material you're cutting. But also when you loosen it, it allows it to swivel back and forth. And if you look in the front here, the blade right now is in the middle, somewhat more towards this side, but I need to swivel that so it's perfectly in the middle of the blade. The other thing you can see here are these are some kind of carbon blocks. A lot of the better bandsaws have bearings in these spots, but you can adjust these in and out so it touches the blade and guides the blade. And then just behind those is a bearing, and you can adjust that bearing in and out. I don't know how well you guys can see it here, but right now it's quite a ways away from the blade, but you bring it in just till it touches or barely touches the blade. So on the bottom side here, similar. Let's see if we can get some more lighting down there. So on the bottom, if you can see, there's two bolts up here also with the two guides. That same thing, you move in and out till they just touch the blade to guide the blade. And also, let's see if I can bring it in for you guys, another bearing down at the bottom. And the same thing is, you want to bring the bearing just up until it touches the back of the blade. So while we're on the bottom here, you can also see these knobs. There's two of them on each side here, and this allows the table to move if you want to make angled cuts. But for most of the cuts I'm doing, just right angle, so I adjust it, and I'll show you how I do that. To adjust the blade so it's square to the table, I really don't rely on the scale here on the bottom. What I'm doing is I'm just using a simple square, and I bring it up against the blade. Show you guys. So looks pretty good. I would say that's pretty square to the table and should give me good cuts. You really can't adjust it back to front unless you machine something, but actually out of the box it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. Let's just see what it looks like with nothing adjusted. I mean, you can see the light bouncing there. There's some vibration. And same thing, the blade's moving around a little bit. So we'll see what we can do to get this adjusted a little better. One of the first things I'm going to adjust, if you look at the blade here, I can move it pretty good. So I do want to tension the blade a little bit and see what effect that has first. So I've got the bandsaw running without the covers on the wheels, top and bottom. On the bottom you can see the blade's tracking pretty good on the wheel, maybe a little towards the front, but it seems pretty good on the bottom. On the top, the blade's tracking a little towards the front more than it should be. So I'm going to try to adjust the tracking of the blade and as well as the tension of the blade. To adjust the tracking is really easy. There's a knob in the back here, and as you turn it, that'll tilt the wheel and move the blade position. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it. And you guys can see it's going towards the middle. So now the blade's more in the middle of the wheel. And same thing on the bottom. So I think the tracking's much better now. I'm going to go ahead and try to adjust the tension next. So there's a knob on the back here that I'm going to turn, and you can see I got a lot of blade movement now. So I'm going to go ahead and start turning the knob in the back, and let's see if we can get this much tighter. So I actually ended up tightening the tensioning knob all the way as far as it can go, and I still feel that it could be tighter, but that's all the travel I have. I'll have to look into that, but that's what it sounds like if you can hear it. That's still quite a bit of wobble, but that's as tight as I can get the blade. Next I'll go ahead and adjust the bearing up here and the carbon blocks to touch the blade. So it's 5mm wrench for all of them. I actually replaced all these. The original screws were pretty cheap, so I replaced these with some little better socket head screws. So I'll go ahead and loosen it, both of them, and I'll just slide them until they just barely touch for now, and tighten them back. And same thing with the bearing here. I'll loosen it and bring it up till it just touches, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom. Now that it's adjusted top and bottom, let's go ahead and turn it on and see what it looks like. So you can see now that it's adjusted, if I wiggle the blade, much better. Should run well. So those are the basic adjustments. Let's move on to changing that belt. The belt I want to change is the bottom belt that comes up from the motor. The top belt I wasn't going to do this round. We'll see how it goes. It is loose. It's not that tight. And the only way to tighten it, and we'll go around the other side, you can see this slot here, and I'm down at the end of the slot, is to move this whole shaft assembly down. So I will try, but it doesn't look like I have much room left to adjust. Here's a look at it from the other side. You can see that same shaft coming through. I will loosen it and try to tighten it more. It looks like I might have a little bit left, but not much. I was able to get more tension on that belt. The way I had to do it is I found these two blocks I had. Put them in here. See if I can show you. It's tricky to do it, especially by yourself. And then I put the two blocks in there, and I used a screwdriver and then push down and tighten at the same time. So if we go back around to the other side, let's take a look. It's much better than it was. Okay, so now it's way better. Got some tension on it. Okay, so let's move on to the link belt. I did already remove the other belt, playing with the other adjustment. So it's just hanging there for now. And you can see how the motor's supported on these 4 screws or bolts here, and then it adjusts here. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that also, getting it on here. So let's go ahead and take this belt out of there and figure out how this link belt works. This is the link belt that I bought, Harbor Freight, the Accu-Link adjustable, and this is the original belt that came with the bandsaw. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to first just roughly adjust this belt to this size. I took the belt apart. It looks like it comes apart. There's 2 of these tabs that come out. So it looks like putting it back on, I would go in here first and then go into the second one to put it back. So I'm going to have to remove a few links to get to the size. The belt comes in a much longer length than I need. Okay, so I removed the links. What you had to do is flip the belt inside out first when you're doing that, and then turn it back, and now it wants to stay inside out. But I made it a little bigger than the old belt. I do have some adjustment on that motor, so we'll see what happens. I could always remove another link. So the belt's on. It took a little doing. It's not that easy doing it by yourself. On the front here, there's a 12 millimeter. You can use a socket. The hard part is in the back, you got to use a 14 millimeter wrench because they're just nuts in the back. So you got to do both to tighten it, and you got to push down to put a little tension on it. So she's on, looks really good. I did have to take out another 2 links for it to work. So let's fire it up and see what it sounds like now. So here it is running with the new belt, and I don't know if you can hear it. It is quieter. All the guards are open, covers are open, but that's what it looks like running. Go to the top here, see what it looks like. So it is much smoother than before. Before I was getting a lot of vibration. Everything's smoothed out. So let me go ahead and put all the covers back on and see what it sounds like with everything closed. Here's the old belt and what's left, what I didn't use on the link belt. So my first guess, I ended up taking this much out, and then I had to take out a little bit more to make it all work. But overall, pretty easy to install, and it looks like as far as vibration and noise, it does look better. Okay, so here it is running after the link belt install. Seems to be much smoother. It does feel better. A lot less vibration. So we'll see how it cuts. I'll do another video probably. I have some upcoming projects where I will be using this. So I think the link belt might be a good thing, a nice upgrade for this bandsaw. So thanks for watching the video, and again, if you're interested in these kinds of things, stay tuned. I'll have a lot more videos on the equipment and some upcoming projects. So thanks for watching.